Welcome back. Welcome back. So now we were able to get the YouTube channel back on my computer. As it turns out, I had to uninstall Google Chrome and reinstall Google Chrome, and that apparently worked. I was trying all kind of things, was removing installation apps that I thought was causing the problem, and I did clean up that, and then I did what you call it system restore, and none of that worked. And finally, um, I uninstalled Google Chrome and then reinstalled Google Chrome. So if you're having any problem like that, there you go, Baldy. I see you now. If you're able to, if you're having that problem, that might be a solution for you. If you ever come into the same problem that I had, it kept saying that it kept saying didn't have any Wi-Fi, my internet wasn't working, and it was, and then it wouldn't bring up YouTube. So yeah, and Baldy thought, and me and him were going back and forth trying to get his name back up here. And what happened, Baldy, as I was searching, I still could not find your name. I don't know why, but then I looked through all of my users that are hidden from the channel, users that touch the third rail, and your name was in there, and I did not put your name in there. You never touched the third rail. So apparently some people get put out that I didn't put out. So yeah, and I saw a few other names in there aside from yours. I said, oh, that's why I didn't see this person, because they didn't put out, So I was able to redo it and get you back. But because I got 80 something names of people that have been blocked. So I guess I didn't. I guess it was hidden. There were so many. Listen, on my channel, most of y'all know I will block. People be hitting that third rail because they seem to mistake this channel for democracy, which means they think this channel runs by the by the Constitution. It doesn't. It does not. So I'm not coming, and that's why I have moderators here, like Listen to Your Body and Isha Sharma and Akawambaya. I got moderators in here, and they're here just in case. Usually it's a Christian, but sometimes I get a Muslim too that comes in and wants to debate and argue about religion. You'll get a warning, and you get another warning, and then all of a sudden, you'll be touching the third rail. You jump off the platform at the subway, and you know what happens if you touch the third rail? You get got. So that happens quite a bit, because there are people that seem to make a career of sending nasty comments and being very stupid. And okay, see, I don't, I'll say, oh, is that? Oh, you want to be like that? See, if they didn't give us the ability to delete these people, it would be a little bit more difficult. But that's that's how you want to flow. Okay, you are suicidal, and so we'll help you out. So we'll help you out, and so praise the Most High, we were able to get back our channel. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your prayers and your help. All right. We were in Revelation. We just finished the 7 churches. We just finished the 7 churches. And so now we're going into chapter 4. And chapter 4 begins the 7 seals. Now, before we go there, I want to go to the sister verse to chapter 4, which is Daniel chapter 7. Let's look at Daniel chapter 7. And let's begin in there. And again, welcome back to everyone that was on break and came back. Welcome back. Let's go to Daniel 7. Now, I would like to get some background, read Daniel's, like, I don't want to go right to the verse. I want to, which I often do, I don't do anyway, but I want to go from verse 1, and I want to come down from verse 1 down to verse 10. Okay, so Let's read Daniel chapter 7 from verse 1 to verse 10. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. So the first thing he saw was he saw the sea and he saw the winds, four winds, which represent north, south, east, and west. And he saw them striving. So he saw winds coming at, which is a strange situation. Generally, right? Winds come from one direction and go another, right? But he saw four winds coming from the north. That means they were coming from the north, the south, the east, and the west. And they were hitting each other, striving. Okay, everybody got that so far? This is not a normal situation. So you're seeing it's not just winds blowing like from usually, a wind will come from east to west, north to south, northwest. Your wind will come from one direction and go into another direction. But in this case, he saw four winds hitting each other, striving for mastery. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody with me so far? I want to make sure you understand, because people get this confused and they see wind and they say, well, okay, but the wind was at Pentecost with the Holy Ghost, right? And of course, we know the four winds of Revelation. Well, we don't know officially yet because we didn't study, but there's four winds in Revelation also. But here, these are four winds, and we know them to be north, south, east, and west, and they're striving with each other, right? On a sea, on an ocean. Okay. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. So he has four winds striving, and out of each wind, there are four beasts. Okay, four beasts coming out, and they were striving from each other. So as a result of strife, these four beasts arise out of the sea, one at a time. And they were each different from each other. It's a diverse one from another. Okay. Now he describes the first one that came up. And they're coming up in order. Okay. So they're coming up one after another in their order. Now, we just read not too long ago, Daniel chapter 2, in which Nebuchadnezzar had a dream and was looking for an interpretation, if you recall. And then Daniel prayed with his Hebrew buddies, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and the Most High gave Daniel the dream and the interpretation. And in that dream, there were four metals, right? And there were gold, silver, brass, and then there was iron. So you had four. It's the same four. But he's being shown, and this is often the case with prophecy. The Most High will show the prophet the same thing in different ways, and the same thing at different junctures, which is why I say the seven churches are with the seven seals, are with the seven trumpets. He's showing John the same thing, but at different junctures and in different situations in the same era of time. Here, Daniel has seen four kingdoms in Daniel 2. And then now, here we are again. He sees four beasts in Daniel 7. Same four. And then we can also understand that as we saw in Daniel 2, the order was given. The head of gold was first. Then came the breast of silver, breast and arms of silver. Then came the belly of brass. Then came the legs and the feet of iron, right? So here, the first, we can expect it to be just like the first in Daniel 2. So let's take a look. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked. And it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man. And a man's heart was given to it. So the first was like a lion. That would represent which kingdom? Quiz question. So we see it's going to be just like the 4 of Daniel 2, but here is an animal. That's right. So the first one would be Babylon. So notice what it says about Babylon. He said that it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man. So this lion became a man, and a man's heart was given to it. Now, what does the Bible say about a man's heart? What does the Bible say about a man's heart? Well, I know there's one thing in Jeremiah. Let's take a look in Jeremiah. Jeremiah, and I want to say, yeah. Man, I'm trying to find, I know what I want and I can't find it yet. Hang on, bear with me, sisters and brothers. I'm going to find it. Hold on. Going to cheat and use concordance. I'm going to cheat and use the concordance. Hang on one second. Proud as I can't spell. Hang on one second. It is Jeremiah 17. Yes, Jeremiah 17. That's what I'm looking for. Jeremiah 17 and verse 9. Yes, all right. Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9. What does it say about a man's heart? Jeremiah 7, yeah, also stone. Thank you, Manny. That's correct. And yes, System 119, I'm looking up and y'all already got it. So listen, Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9. Let's take a look. Jeremiah 17, 9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. I, Yahweh, search the heart and try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doing. So we can see the human heart in its natural state is what? Deceitful. And we all know this because all of us have experienced, because we all have human hearts, right? So we've experienced self-deceit and being deceitful, right? We've all experienced that. All right. So now Ezekiel, as Brother Manny referenced, Ezekiel chapter 36. So it's deceitful is the first thing that's described by Jeremiah. Now Ezekiel is shown this, Ezekiel 36, verse 26, Ezekiel 36, and this is 26 and 27 of Ezekiel chapter 36. A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them. So remember, if you remember when we were reading also, if you read the Gospels, many times the disciples did not understand. Like, for example, when the Messiah was in the small boat sleeping, and there was all kind of strife, and he rose up and quieted the winds, and they were amazed. And the Bible said they didn't understand because their hearts were hardened, right? And then Messiah also said, they said, well, why did Moses allow us to divorce our wives if you say we shouldn't divorce them? He said, Moses allowed you to divorce your wives because of the hardness of your heart, right? So in Ezekiel here, this part that we just read is a following up of earlier in Ezekiel when he said he scattered us and had to pour out his wrath upon us because we was stiff-necked. So with the stiff neck come what? the hard heart. So hard-hearted, stiff-necked, and in need of a new heart, which he give us, that's called born again, and put his spirit in us, which caused us to be obedient to him. So without the Father's spirit, we could tend to be deceitful, hard-hearted, and stiff-necked. Okay, so let's go back now to Daniel chapter 7, and it says, it was made to stand on 2 feet like a man. That ain't a lion, that's now a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So it became hard and deceitful. And this is shown in Daniel chapter 5. Because remember, he's showing Babylon, and the man's heart was given to it, became hardened and deceitful. You'd think they'd be talking about Nebuchadnezzar, but no, Nebuchadnezzar got converted after he got spanked. Father had to put the strap on him. You know, he put the switch on him. He go get my switch, and he had to spank Nebuchadnezzar. And at the end of Nebuchadnezzar's time, he was converted. So it wasn't him. So let's take a look. This is Daniel. Let's start with Daniel chapter 4, just to get a context. Daniel chapter 4, from verse 34 to 37. Then we'll go and see what happened to Belshazzar in chapter 5. Daniel chapter 4, we'll come right back to 7. We're just dealing with the first animal, which is the lion. And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up my eyes unto heaven, and my understanding returned unto me. And I blessed the Most High, and I raised and honored him, praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. So no, wait, we could stop there. So you could see he was converted now. He received a new heart and a new spirit, and he wasn't so proud, deceitful, and hard-hearted no more, right? He received everything. All right, so now let's go to chapter 5 of Daniel, and let's take a look at chapter 5 and read verse 1. Let's read from verse 1 down to verse 5, okay? From verse 1, actually 1 to 6. Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of Yahweh, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand. Remember, a man's heart were given to it. Came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. So now he messed up. A man's heart was given to it. Came deceitful, hard-hearted, stiff-necked, and he got what he had coming. Later that night, he was killed. Okay, so that was Babylon. Back to Daniel chapter 7. Okay, Daniel 7, beginning at verse 5. Behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised itself up on one side. It had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So the second one was like a bear, but it raised itself up on one side. And if you remember from Daniel 8, we saw 2 horns, and the second one came up, was higher than the first one, 2 horns, right? And it was horns in a ram, and that was Media and Persia. Okay, raised itself up on one side. And then it said it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. So for Media and Persia to take over, became a world power, they had to first defeat Babylon. So it had 3 ribs. So apparently there was Babylon and 2 other powers. I can't tell you which ones there was right now, but I'm sure we could find them if we looked them up. But they had to overcome Babylon and two other powers in order to take over the world in terms of it being a world empire. So, and then of course to be able to put hands on the Hebrews. So they took over 3 kingdoms in order to do that. Okay, so that's why I had 3 ribs in his mouth. Okay, verse 6, and we know the next one is Greece. So verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, and it had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So now Greece had 4 heads, and why? Because in Daniel 8 it showed us the horn was broken and 4 horns came up out of its place, in the place of one, north, south, east, and west, so that the Greek empire was divided into 4, according to the 4 generals that served under Alexander the Great. We also know that the little horn came forth out of the direction of the north. Out of one of them came forth a little horn. Remember from Daniel chapter 8, came out of the north, which later became the next beast. So here, Daniel chapter 7, verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. Notice the iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So out of that northern part of what was the Greek Empire came forth this beast, okay? And it had 10 divisions of what was the Roman Empire, okay? Now, verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom the first 3 were plucked up, the first 3 horns were plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. This is the same little horn that Daniel 8 is talking about in verse 23 of Daniel 8, which we just read the other day. It says, in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. So we know that that's Rome. And we know that that's the latter time, that's the papacy with the Vatican in the little horn, okay? So it shows it in Daniel 8 coming out of the north, out of the 4th part of what was the Greek Empire. Then it shows it here as the 4th kingdom, okay? All right, in Daniel chapter 7. So now, let's go to verse 9 of Daniel chapter 7, because remember, we're looking at Revelation 4, and I want to show you how they connect. So this is Daniel chapter 7. Let's look at verse 9 and verse 10 and verse 11. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. So he shows this beast. He's talking about the 4th one, and he's saying it was slain and given to the. So it says, when it talks about the little horn, it says he had a mouth speaking great things. See, it's a weird way of saying, because great doesn't mean good. in this context. It said that that little horn had a mouth speaking great things. And later it said, and his body was destroyed and given to the burning flame. So the great things he was speaking, as the Bible tells us, was blasphemy, great words of blasphemy against the Most High. Great words, as Revelation 13 will tell us, blasphemy against the Most High and them that dwell in heaven. Okay, blasphemy against the Most High. So he was speaking great words, but it tells us at the end of the day, his body was given. Yep, talking a lot of mess. That's right, talking a lot of mess. At the end of the day, though, he was given to the burning flame. Okay. Daniel chapter 7. Notice verse 12. What it says is very interesting in verse 12. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season in time. So Babylon, Media, Persia, and Greece had their world dominion taken away. It was taken over by Rome. Yet their lives were prolonged. So Rome had elements of all of those kingdoms in it. Does that make sense? So as kingdoms of their own, there was no more of the ancient Babylon kingdom. There was no more of the Media Persian Empire. There was no more of the Greek Empire. But all of those were combined. Their lives were prolonged in the form of the Roman Empire. Okay, and how do we know this? Notice Revelation chapter 13, Revelation chapter 13, and notice how this last beast is made up. It describes what animals make up this last beast. Notice again, Revelation chapter 13, and I'm going to read verse 1 and 2. Revelation chapter 13, verses 1 and 2. Notice what it says, Revelation 13, 1 and 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea. Again, a sea, right? And I saw, and the sea represents the Gentiles, as we know. It says to convert he says the forces of the Gentiles shall be converted into the abundance of the sea, and also people, nations, and languages. So it represents Gentiles in the earth, peoples, nations, languages, and tongues, and powers of the Gentiles. So here it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea. By the way, that was Isaiah 60 that I just quoted to you, and Revelation 17:15. Okay. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. There's one of the animals we just saw. That was Greece. His feet were as the feet of a bear, Medes and the Persians. And his mouth is the mouth of a lion, Babylon. Okay, there you go. Leopard, bear, lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And what about the fourth beast? Well, all of these together with the 10 horns make up the fourth beast. 7 heads and 10 horns. Why 7 heads? Very simple. Very simple. Why 7 heads? Very simple. You can see one head is Babylon. One head is Media Persia. 1, 2, 3, 4 heads is Greece. And then the last head is Rome. Total 7. 7 heads, 10 horns. Now, there's more than one way to skin a cat. We're going to see this in Revelation 17, but we're not there yet. So 7 heads, 10 horns. There it is. See? And it's a conglomeration of all those beasts together, which is why Daniel 7:12 says that as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season in time. Because elements of those kingdoms are what together make up the Roman one that we now see, with one major difference, that little horn. Because the little horn is not just a kingdom, it's a religious power. See? So Babylon was not a religious power. The Medes and the Persians were not religious powers. And of course, the Greeks were not a religious power. These were aggressive Gentile powers. But Rome, being also an aggressive Gentile power, also became a religious power. Okay, so that's the one difference. And of course, when you combine the government and the religion, that's what you have Asatan trying to take over the earth, because he's trying to copy the Father, which combines worship of the Father with dominion over the earth, with a monarchy. That's what the Father's going to have. That's what he's given to our Messiah. Our Messiah is going to be king over this entire planet. He's a monarch. He's going to be a monarch. That is one power. And then he's also the Prince of Peace, and his Father is the worship object of worship. See, so we have a kingdom led by a monarch that has a government and has worship in it. That's what Asatan is trying to do. See, from opposite sides, obviously. So here, back to Daniel 7, and here we go in Revelation 4, which is actually in Daniel 7, verse 13 and 15. I'm sorry, 13 and 14. Daniel chapter 7, verse 13 and 14, and we'll go back now to religion. Okay, up to religion. We'll go back to Revelation. Daniel chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. So you're seeing the Messiah come to the Father. Okay, so you're seeing the Father is receiving the Messiah, and they brought, it says, so one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and they brought him to the Ancient of Days. Okay, and they brought him near before him. So here there's a group of people, of angels probably, bringing Messiah to the Father. Okay, verse 14. And there was given him, that is given to the Son of Man, dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. See, a kingdom is given to the Messiah. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So Messiah is given a kingdom from the Father. Makes sense, right? Does not the Father, a king, if he's going to give one of his sons or his son a kingdom, a prince, he's going to give him a dominion, right? So he's given him this, and they do this in Europe a lot. Matter of fact, somebody gave Leopold from Belgium, right? Somebody gave Leopold from Belgium dominion, right, over a section of Africa, right? Somebody gave the French dominion over another section, and they would reward some of their heirs, islands in the Caribbean. Oh, hey, this is yours. This is yours. See? So that's not uncommon. The Gentiles know all about it because they've been doing it to us. And the thing about the United States of America is no king or pope granted them the ability to create an independent nation. They wanted an independent nation, a European-based independent nation, and what they would call a white nation, by the white man, what they would call, right? And that's why we had to fight. What they had to fight was called the Revolutionary War. They fought the Revolutionary War because Britain didn't say, well, we're going to let you have dominion, have your own country. No, we're not doing that. And the children of Yafet that came here said, oh, yes, you are. We're going to do it. And that's why they had the American Revolution. Okay. But before that, it was already discovered. It was already discovered by first Amerigo Vespucci, and then Christopher Columbus discovered it. They discovered it, right? And when they discovered it under the auspices of the Pope. Okay. But then these other pilgrims come over here from Britain, and they said, well, no, we want this land is pretty nice. We want to make our own nation out of it. There you go. And that's where you get this whole taxation without representation, right? That's where you get the whole taxation without representation, because they decided we're not going to be taxed by another country. We're going to make our own country. We're going to make an independent nation. And this is the thing, brethren, that we must understand. Every real, and Malcolm X said this very clearly, every real revolution is about land and nation. It's about nationalism, which is a nation, and a nation needs land. That's what every revolution is about. Control of land and nation. Okay, that's what it's always about. Okay, and so the children of Yafet that came here from Britain decided they want to have a Christian nationalist nation, right? There you go. And that's what they got. They came over here as pilgrims and Christians, and they decided they want their own nation. So they had a revolution to take the land to make their own nation, a European nation based on Christianity. And they took it over. And of course, they discovered it because we know that the northern tribes were already here, but they don't count as people to them. So they discovered it. Okay. And these truths, the white supremacists will admit there are some that don't understand what they believe as being in the white supremacist system themselves, and that their daddies do it, but they're embarrassed by it, so they don't want to admit it. But this is the truth. That don't change what it is. So here we see the Father giving Messiah a kingdom. And I said, this is the sister text to Revelation chapter 4. So let's take a look. And remember what we saw here. Fiery stream came forth from before his throne. And if you remember in Revelation chapter 1, it says the 7 spirits that are before his throne. And we're going to see it again here. Now let's go to Revelation chapter 4. So Daniel 7 and Revelation 4 are one. Okay, let's take a look and show you in the scriptures. Daniel 7, and now we're going to Revelation chapter 4. And you're going to see some very interesting language in the beginning of Revelation chapter 4. Watch this. Now, remember, before we go, I want you to know that John, one of the 12 apostles, was given this revelation, right? I'm not making that up. I mean, right? The beginning of Revelation said, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bear record of all things that he saw, right? So John was on the Isle of Patmos receiving this, right? So John receiving this, we can now say, was in the past, right? This revelation he received it in the past. And from where he was, in terms of time and space, there were things in it that were in his past. For example, the first century. He was a member of the first century, right? AD. And so Ephesus, he was there. But everything else, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea was in his future. Right? Does that make sense, y'all? So at the time of John receiving this, he sees Messiah in the holy place, and it makes perfect sense because that's the time period in which he was. But what he's being shown is the future. Well, remember that as we're looking at Revelation chapter 4. So here we go, Revelation chapter 4, beginning at verse 1. After this, I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. So wait, let's stop right there. So again, we're shown a door being opened in heaven, as we saw with Philadelphia. So from where John sat, though, from his time period, he's being brought in there in the spirit. But it hadn't happened yet. He said, this is going to happen hereafter to John, which is what? Guess where we are? Guess where we are? We're in the hereafter. Does that make sense, y'all? Because we were in Philadelphia. John was in Ephesus. And so here, Ephesus is being shown to him, and he's in Ephesus, and he can see Messiah in the holy place. But now Messiah opens the door, and he invites John, come up here. I want to show you. So he's taking John into the most holy. Okay, he's taking John into the most holy. Now, when Moses was told to make a sanctuary, The Father told Moses, and let them make me a sanctuary. This is Exodus 25:3. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. So when Moses was told to create this sanctuary, and we know you walk into the holy place, there's the altar of incense, there is the 7 golden candlesticks, and then there's the table and the showbread. That's it. And then we know inside the second veil, there's the Ark of the Covenant, there's the covenant, and there's 2 angels, and there's glory in there, right? Well, that's the actual Father. You can't see him there. Moses could never see him. He could speak through him through a cloud, a dark cloud. And he spoke to Moses as a man talks to his friend. But Moses could not see him because he told Moses, "Ain't no man that could see me and live." So here, guess what John getting ready to be shown? Watch. Revelation chapter 4, verse 2. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. Who is that? That's what we just read in Daniel chapter 7. The Ancient of Days, our Heavenly Father Yahweh, sitting on his throne. So here in the spirit, John sees him. Messiah said, "Come here, I want to show you something that's going to happen hereafter." So he brings him into the most holy place, and John sees the throne, and he sees the Father, just like Daniel did. Remember, Daniel described him. He said he had hair like wool. Remember that? Hair like wool. Revelation chapter 4. Now, John is being shown him. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like an emerald. So he sees a rainbow around the throne. Remember the rainbow now. And then he sees the Father, sitting on the throne. And Messiah is the one bringing him in there and said, "Come up here. I want to show you something that's going to be in the hereafter." And so the door is open, and John's in the spirit, and he's being shown the throne. Okay. Verse 4. And round about the throne were 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. Wait a minute. Now, when we read Daniel 7, we ain't see no 24 seats. When we read Daniel 7, we didn't see no 24 elders with white raiment on and crowns of gold. We didn't see that, did we? When we was in Daniel, we didn't see that. Why are we seeing it here? Why are we seeing it here? And it wasn't and it's highlighted here. After the throne, that's the first thing John talks about. So why are these 24 elders here? Where'd they come from? Y'all know. Y'all already know where they came from. That's right. They were resurrected with the Messiah, and they represented what? They represented the first fruits, the wave offering. Remember the wave offering? They represented the wave offering. See? So after the Shabbat of the Passover, that is the 7th day, on the first day of the week, the priest is going to have a wave offering. That is the first fruits of the barley harvest. He's going to wave it before the Most High. And then that's going to represent, and the Bible does say, there were people resurrected after the Messiah rose up, and they appeared in the holy city and showed themselves to many. So people saw them, bore witness that I saw whoever it was. They were obviously priests, though. Were they not? I mean, right? They were priests. Remember, we're in the most holy place. We're in the most holy place. So these were all Levite priests. So think of all the priests. John the Baptist is a priest, Levite, right? Jeremiah, he's a Levite. Ezekiel's a Levite. Aaron's a Levite. Zadok is a Levite. All the Levites, Levite priests. So he had Levite priests round the throne. Praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. So These are, and they're dressed in, when you can tell because they're redeemed from the earth, because they got white robes on with crowns on their head. That means they were being redeemed from the earth. Praise the Most High. Okay. Verse 5, which we already saw in Revelation 7, verse 5 is the same thing. Look what it says here. Revelation 4, verse 5. And we saw this in Daniel 7, excuse me. Out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh. So remember, he said a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh. 7 being perfect number, perfect power of his spirit, perfection of power from the Father. 7 lamps of fire, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh. And of course, out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. That's the Father's voice. Lightnings, thunderings, and voices. That's the Father's voice. Praise the Most High. Verse 6. And before the throne, there was a sea of glass like unto crystal. And this is why we know whenever we see the sea of glass, we know there's people standing before the Father, because from the front of his throne comes what? Sea of glass. There it is. Before the throne, there was a sea of glass like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. And we saw these 4 beasts. I'm going to ask you, where among the Hebrew Israelite prophets of the Old Testament, I'm giving you a whole bunch of hints here. Where do we see these 4 beasts among the Hebrew Israelite prophets of the Old Testament? We see these 4 beasts. Daniel didn't show them, but another prophet. That's right. Thank you, brother man. Ezekiel chapter 1 shows the 4 beasts. Ezekiel chapter 1, and then other couple places in Ezekiel, but they showed the 4 beasts in Ezekiel chapter 1. So the 4 beasts apparently are the ones that carry the throne whenever it's moving, and it moves. It's got wheels. It moves. Okay. So the throne can be moved, and the Father can move with the throne. Okay. Praise the Most High. And he got these 4 beasts are his servants to move the throne wherever he goes. Wherever they go, he goes. Wherever he goes, they go. Okay, praise the Most High. I think that's more important to understand, because I've been trying to understand, why did he pick these 4 different animals, and a man's face and a beast's face? Okay, that's hard to understand for me. But it's obvious that wherever he goes, these 4 go. And Ezekiel said that. Wherever they go, the throne goes. Okay, so it's on wheels, and the throne can be moved. And the Father, they just move him wherever he wants them to go. Okay, so you got 4 beasts. Let's take a look in verse 7. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second like a calf, and the third beast a face as a man, and the fourth beast as a flying eagle. Okay, you got me there. I'm not going to try to guess what these are. If you study the word and you come up with something in the spirit, you could share it, please. But I've looked this up. I have not yet been given this. And again, I will not try to guess what I do not know. Okay. So I don't know why we have these 4 various, and it's the same in Ezekiel now. Ezekiel see the same thing. They're all, carrying it, whatever, but they are. And so the lion, the calf, the man, and an eagle. I don't know, Stephen Kelly. An eagle, that's not a beast of burden. Neither is a lion, right? The only beast of burden there would be the calf, and it's not even a full-grown cow. It's a calf, which is a baby cow. And then you got a man there. So I don't know, really. I don't know, but there it is. But one thing I do know, they carry the throne. In fact, let me show you that from Ezekiel. Let me show you that from Ezekiel. So I'm not guessing. I'm not making that up. I'm just saying this is what the word says. Let's see. Okay. This is Ezekiel chapter 1. And I'm going to go from verse 14 down to verse 20. Okay. And it repeats this. So this will give us an example of it though. Okay. This is Ezekiel chapter 1 from verse 14 to verse 20. And the living creatures, that's what Ezekiel calls them, the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Now, as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his four faces, and the appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl. And they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And when they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them four. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went. There was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. See? So wherever the throne is going, the wheels go and the creatures go. Wherever the Father's going, they going. Wherever they going, the Father's going. There you go. No point. All right, back to Revelation chapter 4. And let's look at verse 8. Revelation 4:8. And the four beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Yahweh Al Shaddai, or Yahweh Most High, God Yah Almighty, which all Yah Almighty is Al Shaddai, Yahweh Al Shaddai, which was and is to come. And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who liveth forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne and worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Yahweh, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. Everything created is for the pleasure of the Father. Now the Messiah is the conduit by he's the origin by which the Father creates things, but it's for the Father's pleasure. Praise the Most High. It's for the Father's pleasure that he creates things. Praise the Most High. And then when his created beings see that he's created stuff, they start shouting. Oh yeah, that's in Job. We saw that here too, and they start giving glory. And the thing is, the Bible tells us. First, let me give you a couple of scriptures with respect to this, because this is powerful, man. First, let's look at Psalm. Let's look at Psalm before we on our way to Job. Look at Psalm 16. Psalm 16. Yes, Psalm 16. Watch this. Psalm 16. In verse 11. Actually, let me start at verse 7. Psalm 16 from verse 7 to verse 11. Psalm 16, a Psalm of David, from verse 7 to verse 11. But we're looking at verse 11. Watch this. And I will bless Yahweh, who has given me counsel. My reins also instruct me in the night seasons. I have set Yahweh always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be moved. Therefore, my heart is glad and my glory rejoiceth. My flesh also shall rest in hope, for thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thy Holy One to see corruption. That means that's why we know Messiah was resurrection. He did not start to be corrupted or his body decay. He was taken out of the grave. Thou wilt show me the path of life. Watch this though. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand, there are pleasures forevermore. So just being in his presence is fullness of joy. See, you and I, when we experience joy, right? When you and I experience joy, it's not something that's maintained. Like if something good happened to you on a particular day, right? Something good happens to you on a particular day, and you feel a joy. Like yesterday, I ordered me a kettlebell. I have one 50-pound kettlebell because I bought it during COVID, and you could hardly get kettlebells. Make a long story short, I got the match to it when it arrived yesterday. I was looking for that second cast iron kettlebell, and it came yesterday. And my wife said, "Man, your face is glowing," because I was so happy to get my second kettlebell. But see, that's the joy I was feeling. And she said, "Your face is glowing. You happy about this thing?" I said, "Man, I'm glad to get my second kettlebell." But the Bible says, in the presence of the Father is fullness of joy. So that's why they can stand around his throne constantly saying, "Yahweh, Yahweh, glory and honor to your name. Glory to your name." Because it's fullness of joy. Pleasures forevermore. Think of the things that give you the most pleasure. This is a heightened sense of pleasure forever. See, we get pleasure. Again, it's like Brother Stephen said, joy is temporary, pleasure is temporary. We get pleasure, but it don't last, right? You get something. Matter of fact, that's one of the things that keep a crackhead, isn't that right? Because they get pleasure out of that first hit, and they keep looking for the rest of their days as a crackhead for that next hit. That's going to give them the pleasure the first one gave, right? And you get stuff like this. There's pleasure in something, and you're trying to find that pleasure again. You want it again, and it come in different ways. And a lot of people be chasing life trying to get it again, right? But in the Father's presence is fullness of joy. At his right hand, there is pleasure forever, which is why the 24 elders are blessed because they get to see it all the time, and they will never get tired because it's at the height. Whew, man. Okay, notice again, Job chapter 38. Job chapter 38. Job 38. Many of y'all know this already because many of y'all been studying your Bible now for a couple of years, right? And you read through it several times now. So you know some of these verses, right? Praise the Most High. But look at this. Job 38, when the Most High answered Job out of the whirlwind. Job 38, going to read from verse 1 down to verse 7. Verse 7 being the one we're really looking for. But here, Job chapter 38, 1 to 7. Then Yahweh answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, "Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of Yah shouted for joy." So he was making the earth and laying the foundations of the place that we are now dwelling in, which we would dwell in forever. The sons of Yah were watching it. And every time he spoke something into existence, the Bible said the sons of Yah shouted for joy. Praise the Most High. Watching him do his thing. Praise the Most High. And you see, you got all kind of scientists and telescopes and all kind of ways trying to figure out what the Father has done. They got physics and all type of mathematics trying to figure out the sun and the distance between Earth and the sun and the star. They can't figure it out because the Father spoke it into existence. And when he was doing it, all of the sons of Yah shouted for joy. Praise the Most High. Because in his presence is fullness of joy. And at his right hand, there are pleasures forevermore. Now, chapter 5 of Revelation, we're going to have to start. We're not going to finish it today. We're going to have to start it, though. Chapter 5 of Revelation. Remember now, the Ancient of Days had the Son of Man brought to him. You're going to see it right now again in Revelation chapter 5. This is Revelation chapter 5. And I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 7. And this is where we'll stop today. Revelation chapter 5, from 1 to 7. That's right. The Father's word was the Big Bang. That's right. Praise the Most High. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the back side, sealed with 7 seals. So now, in Daniel 7, if you recall, the Bible says they brought the Son of Man near before the Ancient of Days. And there was given the Son of Man a kingdom. So this book represents the kingdom being given to the Son of Man, because he's now here's John seeing the book. Okay. And so a kingdom is not a kingdom unless there are people. Does that make sense? The kingdom, well, we know that the Father is going to give the Messiah this earth, but it's nothing unless there are people. And so this here book represents the people that are going to make up the kingdom. And then let's go back to Daniel real quick just to verify that. Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7. And notice what it says here. Daniel chapter 7, verse 14. Daniel 7, verse 14. Notice what he mentions here. Daniel 7, 14. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So the kingdom is made up of all people, nations, and languages. So the book in his hand has what? The people, nations, and languages, which of course Moses mentioned when he said, blot me out thy book which thou hast written. And the Most High said, whoever sins against me will be blotted out of my book. There you go. Okay. So, and of course, Messiah said, anybody who stands for me, I will not blot out of the book. So here's the book. The book is representing the names of the people who are going to be making up the kingdom, what we would call the saved, the redeemed. The Father has the book with the names in his right hand, sealed with 7 seals, the names of the people who make up the kingdom. Praise the Most High. So here, Revelation chapter 5, going to read from verse 1 again down to verse 7. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. I want you to notice how much Israelite language is being used in the book of Revelation. We have the sanctuary, the holy place, the most holy place, the 7 candlesticks. We have the throne of the Father with the 24 elders. And now we have the Lion of the tribe of Judah. I want you to notice he didn't say King of Christians. Did he say King of Christianity? Did he say the 3 Abrahamic religions? No, he didn't say that. What did he say? He said the Lion of the tribe of Judah, giving credence to all 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Praise the Most High. All right. The Lion of the tribe of Judah. Then he goes on to say the root of David, not Muhammad, not a Talmud, not a Pope or Christianity. The root of David. David, let me just Was David a Christian? Did David proclaim himself a Christian? Did he? Was David a Muslim? Was David ever declared to be a follower of Judaism? Or did Abraham ever invent any religion? There you go. The tribe of Judah, that is the nation of Israel, the root of David, that is the king of the nation of Israel, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts and of the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Yahweh sent forth into all the earth. Horn represents power. 7 horns, perfect power. Eyes represents sight. 7 eyes, perfect sight. Perfect power, perfect sight. And he had them, which means he was from the Father. 7 spirits of Yahweh sent forth into all the earth. Remember what he said, no man can come to me except my Father draw him. Well, there you go. Verse 7. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat on the throne. So now Messiah is the only one worthy to open the book. This is very important because he's the only one that paid the penalty for sin, that is the high priest, as well now as a king. He's the only one that the Father gives his messages to be sent to the earth. That is why he's called the prophet. A prophet receives a message from the Father. The first one to receive the message, any message that's sent to any prophet on the earth, is the Messiah. And the Messiah is the prophet because he sends it by his angel, which is the spirit of prophecy, to the earthly servant, which in the Bible is a Hebrew Israelite. Who receives the spirit of prophecy from the prophet, who received the message from the Father, original message from the Father. Okay? So now he is a prophet, a priest, and a king. There is nobody else. There is nobody else like that. Okay? And again, we have a counterfeit. The Vatican is trying to be a prophet, a priest, and a king, because the Vatican's leader is called the Holy Father. Am I lying to y'all yet? Is he not trying to be? That's why the Bible says it's blasphemy. He's trying to be a prophet, a priest, and a king. And now you have in the White House the leader of Christian nationalism, the false prophet, a prophet. He's trying to be a priest and a king. Counterfeit. Blasphemous. There you go. There you go, brother. There you go. We're just getting started. So now we see the Messiah is the only one in the whole universe worthy to open this book that has the names of the inhabitants of the kingdom. And it's got 7 seals, which means each time period has a seal associated with it. And so each time period has redeemed souls associated with it, right? Each time period. And so you're going to open up the seal and you go back to Ephesus, the first one, and you'll see. Same thing when you get to the 7th one, Laodicea, and you get to the 7th seal. We'll see what happened. You're going to see what happened. As Juan Soto might say, we got to see what happened. Anywho, praise the Most High Yah. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, brother.